Hi, it's Nero here from Investment Rise. And when it comes to investing in property right now, there is no doubt that the general brush is one of negativity. Okay, I mean, not a day goes past that you almost don't see some sort of headline talking about property prices falling, some sort of crisis in the property market. Are we into some kind of property crash? How high interest rates are going? There's all this negativity associated with the property market. All right. In fact, I can almost guarantee you that if you were to speak to your friends and your family, the overwhelming opinion will be that the property market is declining and that property right now isn't really a good thing to invest in. It's not a good time to enter the market, so on and so forth. But here's the thing. One thing I've learned from now my 20 years of investing experience buying property all over the country in multiple states is that we don't have one single property market, all right? We have multiple markets around the country, and although sure, some of them do follow each other. For example, Melbourne almost always follows what Sydney does, okay? Other markets completely do their own thing, all right? And it's now really a matter of saying, as a property investor, are you going to rely on people's opinions or are you going to focus on data? I mean, let me share with you this article that really talks about how there isn't one market, but in fact multiple markets all performing quite differently. Aussie housing outlook. Micro markets becoming impossible to predict as investors increase market share. And so with all this negativity then, why would more and more property investors be jumping in? Okay, well, two reasons. First of all, for many people, as interest rates rise, in fact, for almost all people, as interest rates rise, their borrowing capacity decreases. Okay, and so we're seeing less and less first home buyers and owner occupiers trying to buy, and so more and more people are renting. What does that do? Well, that increases rental returns. And so we're seeing lots and lots of articles like this. Landlords hold upper hand, renters set for tough conditions over next 12 months. Tenants face tough conditions for the next 12 months as housing stress is expected to spread as the number of rentals to choose from plummets to another record low, new figures show. The national rental vacancy rate is at its lowest point on record, falling for the fifth consecutive month to 0.9%, the latest Domain Rental Vacancy Report for July shows. So as rental returns rise in the face of these increasing interest rates, it becomes more lucrative for a property investor, okay? Because if you think about the fact that as interest rates rise, number one, as investors, you get more back from negative gearing. Number two, with rents rising, it definitely goes a long way to offsetting the increased costs, okay? So investors are definitely jumping on board. And let's go back to that original article I first showed you to get some more detail. Who is buying Australian property has shifted in the last 12 months, with the proportion of owner-occupiers declining from 72% to 65% as investor purchases increased from 28% to 35%. PRD's Real Estate Australian Economic and Property Report 2022, released today, revealed that although capital city markets overall saw a slowing pace of median house price growth in the 12 months to June 30, individual cities with their own micro markets behaved in their own independent ways. What is that telling you? It tells you that you can't just say, oh, the whole property market is declining, right? I mean, sure, if you look at, say, Sydney and Melbourne, generally speaking, those markets are declining. But even there is the odd suburb that is bucking the trend, okay? And generally, when you then expand to the Australian property market, right, you've got markets that are struggling and they've got markets that are doing really well. And even if you take a general city, for example, or a general regional area, whichever you're looking to invest in, certain suburbs, certain areas, certain pockets are doing really well and others aren't. And that's why relying on people's general opinion about, is this a good time to buy? Where should I buy? Can really lead you to making a wrong decision, because I've said this before in past episodes and I'll continue to say it, is that I have no doubt in my mind that in 12 months time, you're going to see stories of people who chose to invest in certain markets in 2022 who are now done really well from capital growth perspective. So the question is, do you want to be one of those success stories, or do you want to stand on the sidelines, believe what you're generally hearing in the mass media, and potentially miss out? Dr. Mardiasmo said the report unearthed a few unique findings in an unparalleled economic climate. We're really discovering how resilient regional areas are now. In terms of the hits and shocks, compared to capital cities, regional markets still return double-digit growth in the 12 months to the first half of 2022, consistently across all states, she said. PID data for the first half of 2022 showed capital city growth in median house prices was all over the place, with minus 0.3% for Sydney, minus 2.2% for Melbourne, and minus 5% for Adelaide. Okay? In fact, if we look at the caption under this image, it says Adelaide median house prices are down for the first part of 2022. Now, I don't know where that data is necessarily coming from, right? And it may be general Adelaide data. Okay, so be it. But even if you're going to invest in Adelaide, you're not investing in all of Adelaide, right? You invest in certain suburbs. And I can tell you right now that there are certain suburbs in Adelaide that are extremely strong, okay? Recently, we were looking at a property for a client. They had a budget of $360,000, sorry, okay? And we were looking at a property where the agent was asking for around about $330,000. Now, I knew it was a strong market, and I offered $350,000, so $20,000 above the asking price. Now, I mean, you might be thinking, God, you're crazy. Why would you offer so much higher? Here's the thing: we missed out. So the agent wanted $330,000. We offered $350,000 on behalf of my client. The property sold for $375,000. Okay, significantly more than the vendor wanted. Okay, then we saw another property that we missed out on as well. Again, my client had a budget of $400,000. There was a property there that was going for about $370,000, offers over $370,000. I offered $397,000, so well above the asking price, because I knew it was a hot market, and so we wanted to stay within the client's budget. Offered $397,000. Okay, so $27,000 above the asking price, or nearly 10% when you consider that the asking price is in the mid threes. Yet, what did it sell for? We missed out again. It sold for $430,000. We weren't even close. All right, and so what it highlights is the fact that despite all this negativity that you're seeing out there in the marketplace, there are some pockets out there that are doing extremely well, okay? And this is another reason why, if you're looking to buy property, you really can't be guided by what it says online when it says asking offers of X or prices over, okay? That doesn't mean anything, right? All that often means is when an agent lists a property on, say, realestate.com.au, for argument's sake, and they are looking for offers over, say, $449, for example. What they're hoping is that then that property appears in the search when people are looking for doing their online research and looking for properties under $450,000, right? The agent may not be expecting it to sell for $449. They maybe think it's going to sell for $470, but they're hoping to get people who are thinking about maybe trying to get something under $450, falling in love with a property, and then going well above what they thought they would pay initially. All right, so you've got to really be careful when trying to work out market value. There's a whole process to understanding how market value works when you're looking at the properties, but one way not to do it is to be guided by what you're seeing online. All right, but there is no doubt that data is going to matter more than anything right now in 2022. Different pockets are going to do very different things, and you can't just say, oh, look, the whole property market is doing badly because I read this headline, right? Yes, some areas of Australia are struggling. The property prices are struggling. No doubt about that whatsoever. But that does not mean that all pockets are struggling. All right, and you've really got to be doing your data, looking at the data, doing your research, and really getting clear on how differently different areas are performing so that you can then find the right areas and take advantage of the capital growth that's available for you in 2022 and beyond as well. In fact, the article then goes on to say, what also stood out for Dr. Mardiasmo was the diversity of supply and demand in individual markets. The property playground is now so fragmented, depending on what the supply and demand is in any one particular area. I've never before seen such a fragmented marketplace. 2022 brings new challenges to the property market on top of issues faced in 2021. The Reserve Bank of Australia has changed its policy stance, while the federal government has not, Dr. Mariasmo said. As a result, each property market is reacting differently to the current forces at hand. Depending on demand and supply, the market can be growing, holding steady, or turning to a decline. So there you have it, data from an actual economist showing that different markets are performing differently. And now let's have a quick look at this article as well, which says, suburbs where home prices are still rising despite cooling markets. Property markets around the country continue to cool on the back of rapidly rising interest rates. But new data shows there are a huge number of suburbs still seeing strong price growth. Okay, and then it goes on to talk about data released by PropTrack, but here are some examples. There are 23 suburbs across New South Wales that saw double-digit median price increases in the last quarter. Victoria had 15 suburbs with 10% increases or more. But coming out on top was Queensland, with a whopping 249 suburbs posting double-digit dwelling price increases. So what's my point? The point is that you don't want to be swayed by what you're seeing in the headlines. Look, some of these articles are buried deeply within newspapers because they're based on data, and unfortunately data-based findings these days don't seem to sell, right? Whereas opinion and negativity and noise, that seems to get more attention. So that's why if you're looking to invest in property, focus on data, understand that we have a whole series of different markets. Some are doing well, some are struggling, some are holding their value. And if you can look at the data, look at the supply and demand metrics, or get some professional help, you can really identify those spots that could do really well, plus give you very strong rental returns as well, and set yourself up for your future starting from 2022. Hi, it's Nero here again, and thanks so much for watching. If you like what you saw and you're looking for a proven recipe, a blueprint on how to build a property portfolio that gives you passive income, then click the link below this video and get a copy of my book, Wake Up Wealthier, How to Build a Property Portfolio that pays you an income each and every month. Okay, when you click the link and you download your book, you can get both the digital version and the audio version in case you don't like reading. All right, so I used to sell this book for $49, but right now I'm making it totally free. Why? Because I want more people to get this information, and I know that a segment of you will then like what you see in the book and choose to reach out to find out more about our services. But even if you don't, if you're serious about building a property portfolio that pays your passive income, then you really want to get my book, Wake Up Wealthier. It contains the secrets that I have fine-tuned over the last 19 years. It's totally free for a limited time. Click the link below.